Hey, good evening, guys. Hope everyone had a good day. Monday, so I expect it to be slow, so hopefully people didn't do too much. But we had a couple good wins and a couple good starts on some positions. But I just want to kind of go over really quickly. This will be a short video of some imminent setups that I think are here, and just show some setups that I think are going to validate pretty quickly. First and foremost, though, is QQQ. I think I do want to trade this to the downside. I talked about it on the scan where we have this imminent support here at 478.83, this little green line, and it's pretty much multiple time frames, but predominantly the daily, where we can see multiple daily equal lows that have built out a clear support here. And a failure under this would also be a loss of the 20 EMA or the 21 EMA, whatever you guys have marked. We have pretty much a clean shot into this hidden gap, with the fill being around that 471 spot. I have said that I think that 471 is a magnet, but it'll probably drop into that. That will be our second consecutive higher low. And I really think an accumulation would begin here from the big players. And this is where I would look to go that final long, if you will, for a move back up to finally take out that gap fill, right, which is at 488, and then moved ultimately to 497, 500, right? So very simple. I'm just going to be watching this on that break underneath 478.83 in the next day or two. I do want to emphasize I don't want this to be a swing trade. There's some economic data that's coming out. More notably, right, on Tuesday, we really don't have much. But on Wednesday, we have FOMC minutes, which is just a recap, or the spark notes, if you will, of the FOMC from last month. We also have CPI. That's probably the biggest one on Thursday. And then we have PPI on Friday. So I could see this probably, kind of building out until Wednesday, Thursday-ish, or right, maybe tomorrow, or the next couple days, we see this kind of fall underneath 478.83. Long story short, right, I don't want to like go into Thursday and have to swing these into Friday PPI, or go into Wednesday and swing them overnight into the Thursday session. I would rather not. It just feels like a lot of the data recently has been nothing but good, and it ends up going up. And you guys remember I took the lottos on the last data release. I can't remember what it was. Oh, it was NFP, right? And I lost on those 5 contracts. I don't want to do that again, if I'm being honest. I'd prefer this to be a day trade. Otherwise, I'm not going to get involved with it. But yeah, I mean, just looking for this to kind of break underneath 478.83. I'll show you guys a different time frame so it makes a little bit more sense. It's so simple, guys. So simple. I could see this easily pushing down underneath. Maybe it gives a retest and then falls to this little fill down there around 471. Right off that trend line, right? And then we'd be looking long off of that. And then a couple other things that have really are shaping out here. Needs a couple more days of rest, in my opinion. First and foremost, AMD. I just kind of marked this previous high here as kind of like a mini support, and then the main one being the gap here. 169.80 is kind of our spot. Remember, we typically see a breach of this and a consolidation, kind of like the break and base that I always talk about. I think it can maybe slip down a little bit, which is why I marked this previous high to where it kind of gives like that. Maybe it reclaims back above and then it pushes out. We do have the AI event that's coming here on Thursday. So a lot of stuff that's happening this week, guys, and it's a mix between economic data and just volatile events from the companies themselves. So I don't know how I feel about this one, if I want to even add on a roll here. I still have the November contracts. The October 25th I closed out of. So I mean, this still has plenty of room. I'm a little hesitant on starting a new position, especially with these gap breaches, right? Typically, like I said, we'll see it kind of break above, but very rarely does it just kind of do this and go. More often than not, especially recently, we've been seeing like a gap breach and then a fade underneath, where we end up kind of then reclaiming this kind of like that, right? It's a little bit harder than normal, especially with the volatility leading into the elections. So we'll see. If we do break down a little bit lower, right, kind of like a flag off of this, or just a low volume pullback underneath this gap, I think it's just a roll opportunity with some longer dated stuff. I'll probably not entertain anything short dated, right? Maybe a lotto, but even at that, I hesitate kind of putting that out there. But yeah, this has a decent close. You guys can kind of see on the hourly, just a breach of that gap, and it's pretty much just trekking higher lows on the smaller time frames, and ultimately ended up closing pretty nicely above 169.80. So that would be cool if it just gets that final push up into that spot for that $7 move. But I posted it and I've talked about it here multiple times. Juice is not really worth the squeeze, right? RR is a little bit skewed if you're taking calls this high up, right, for a $7 move. So Not too interested in that. Next, obviously MU. I started this today as well. Remember, I talked about there's still the sweet spot I want to add. I've been doing this for a lot of my positions where I'll start it if it looks good and we're starting to see a potential trend. But the sweet spot to still add, guys, is still, in my opinion, here, right? That's the 618. That's the gap fill. That's obviously the peg. So I expect buyers to not even let it get to that point, which is why I started something here, right? This looks pretty good off the 9 EMA. Volume has been pretty controlled this entire move down, so I expect some kind of pop here, hence why I started a position, right? So we had a good move already today. These went about 28. I just kind of rounded up to 30%, but a 28% move on these. Decent close, right? But I'm prepared for this to obviously just be a potential lower high. Maybe it gets a little bit higher and test that zone, that 108 level. But it could just fail here and then start to sell back down here, and then ideally we start to trend back out, right? But the main ads for this would be against that 95.84 level, which is that gap fill, and then I'd risk this secondary gap here underneath at 91, right? So that's why I started that one. Crowd looks pretty good, guys. I'm not gonna lie. Crowd looks like it kind of pushed out and clearly it breached that 285 to 290 spot, and we just want to see this have a mitigated pullback, right? Just a pullback into this 285.90 spot, and then I think we can get a continuation to that 300. I don't think this could have gone more perfectly, right? Just taking profits off of these lows here for an easy 110, 90%, whatever the percentage was because of the bid ask. But now we're getting a pullback, and essentially this is what I added initially, right, which was right there. We're getting a secondary opportunity here and the ability for now this to be a higher low. And yeah, we can just really milk the same trade twice. So if we can just base this 285 level, I think we get that pop off that progression gap as our higher low for a move to 300, and then ultimately we're going to be looking for continuation. So those are really the main focuses for me right now. Amazon, guys, I think I'm going to take Amazon off. I just don't feel comfortable with this one. I was watching it today, but obviously we opened pretty I wouldn't say well established above that 180, 187, but we opened above, we slightly wicked out, and then just kind of pulled back and sold under. And it didn't really even try to hold that spot, guys. I mean, it was the opening print, just sold underneath, retested it, never got above. So I don't think I'm going to entertain Amazon. So I think that's just one of those charts that isn't going to look good off of the watch list right off the bat, and it is something I don't look at again. It's unfortunate because what if it does go? I know. If I was patient and maybe just let the weekly play out, it could give us a similar print to last week. But other charts out there that I like more. So, I mean, really, it's crowd, AMD, MU, QQQ. QQQ is primarily going to be a short one. And then ideally, once this is finished, roll into QQQ longs all the way back to 500. We'll just round that up. The only other one today, guys, that I kind of thought looked good was Lamb Research. I took one contract. I kind of took it off alert with some of the guys in the chat. I don't know how I feel about this one just yet. It hasn't given me the big move yet that I'm expecting, but overall, right, very tight spread right off this progression gap here at 80. I started a contract for like June of next year, targeting 106. But we'll see how this looks. I might alert this sometime this week if we can just start to kind of have a good trajectory off of 80 and make our way up to 83. We start to see some volume come off the lows. I'll definitely alert this one and size into it. I did take Roku today, just trying to front run the potential strength here. Obviously, it's holding this little zone underneath the gap at 78 to 78 to, we'll just round it up, 78 to 79. I got a good little pop here, and I only had 3 contracts, and I said I was going to hold these, but then we just ended up moving, and I saw other charts that I liked, notably these guys here. So I actually trimmed 2 of them, and then I held one, and then I put my stops break even, and I got stopped at break even. So I made like $60 on it. I don't think it was really worth it, but I don't know, guys. I might take this off. Snow is something else that I'm kind of watching. It got pretty close to that 115 spot. You guys can see this is 100% a resistance level. So maybe a crack above, pull back on. This might be something that's in play, but it's not ready just yet. Shop, another one, right? I mean, I'm just seeing if it can hold these prior highs, and it struggled a little bit today. We'll kind of keep our eyes on this one as well. But for now, guys, it's just, I guess, it's just these guys here, right? LRSCX, MU, AMD, Crowd, QQQ, and the main ones I'm not going to shift from. It's these 4 right here, right? MU, AMD, Crowd, QQQ. So that's really it, guys. About 9 minutes. Shouldn't be too long of a watch for you guys. As always, just be patient, right? I mean, that's kind of the whole point, especially on a Monday. Don't overreact, don't oversize on a Monday and be averaging down the entire week, and then leave everything in the hands of data. We never really truly know what it's going to do. I do think that these are all secondary phases for another move up, but you never know. So just play it safe. I'll see you guys tomorrow.